So I'm back with solving percentages, and these are mostly word problems from here on out. But we look at this, and I can use the percent over 100 equals the is over the of, or I can look at it as is means equals, of means multiply, and I'm going to change my percent out of a percent to a decimal by dividing by 100. And the watt is my x. So if I set up my simple equation, I have x equals 20% times 75. I'm going to change my percent to a decimal, so I'm going to move the decimal place 2 places to the left. So x equals 0.20. This 0 is kind of optional because it's a trailing 0. So any zeros, if I only have remaining, or if I only have zeros after my last digit, then I don't have to have them. Matter of fact, most of the time we don't use them. So then I'm going to do 0.2 times 75, and that's another one I can't do in my head. So 75 times 0.2, I should have been able to do that in my head, because 2 times 5 is 10, 2 times 7 is 14, and 1 is 15. I have one decimal point, so x should equal 15. So I can say 15 is 20% of 75. Now, to use the percent over 100 equals the is over of. This is my percent. This is my of. And the watt is my is. So I'm going to have 5 over 100 equals my is. Watt still means x. So x over my of, which is 95. Again, I can simplify my 5 over 100, make it 1 over 20, because 5 goes into both of them. And then I'm going to cross multiply. So I get 20 times x, and I get 1 times 95. Again, we're going to divide by watts with x. So I'm going to divide both sides by 20. So I have 95 divided by 20. So I'm going to go up here and do 20 goes into 95. So 20 goes into 90 4 times, because 4 times 20 is 80. 95 minus 80 is 15. So I've got a remainder, so I put a decimal, take it straight up. Since I have a whole number here, I don't have to worry about a 0. But I do have to put a 0 after the decimal, and then just bring it straight down. So 20 goes into 150. 20 will go into 150 7 times. 7 times 0 is 0. 7 times 2 is 14. So that gives me 140. I bring down or subtract, and I get 10. So I need to add another 0 and take it down. And then 20 goes into 100, and we've been talking about this 5 times. So that gives me 0. So x equals 4.75. Could I have left it at 95 over 20 and reduced? Yes, I could have done that. Or I can take it to a decimal. Just depends on what it asks for. Here, it just wants to solve the percentage. Okay. So again, we can do 29 with percent over 100, or we can do it with an equation. It doesn't matter which way. I think this one would be better with the equation because it's a decimal percent. So my watt is x, is equals 0.7% of is times 62. So I'm going to change my percent to 100, or percent to a decimal, basically dividing by 100, moving my decimal place 2 places to the left. So I'm going to have x equals 0.007, because I had to add a 0, times 62. So I'm going to go up here and do 62 times 0.007. 7 times 2 is 14. Carry my 1. 7 times 6 is 42, and 1 is 43. And since I'm multiplying by zeros, I don't have to worry about those. I just have to know how many decimal places I have. I have 3. So I'm going to move my decimal point 3 places to the left. So then I have 0.434. So now I know that x equals 0.434. Most of you probably will like this way better than the percent over the 100. It just depends on how you were taught in high school, whatever you're comfortable with. The percent over 100 equals is over of. If I have to solve for a percent, or I have to solve for the of, or the number here, then it's easier to use the percent over 100. But if I'm solving for the watt in this case, the watt is, or the watt equals this number, or it equals watt, then this way is the better way of the equation. Alright, so let's look at 29. Again, I'm going to do this one using the percent over 100 equals is over of, just so you have another example of this. So the watt is my x, the 40 is my is. Nope, said that backwards. Oh, I gotta watch me tonight. I'm getting tired. The watt is my is, the 40 is my percent, and the of is my 20. Well, not the 40, that's a 4. So 4 over 100 equals x over 20. So I cross multiply, I get 100x. 4 times 20 is 80. I'm going to divide by 100. So x equals, I can cancel the zeros. So I have 8 over 10. If I wanted to make it a decimal, I can make it 0.8, because I just moved my decimal one place to the left. If I wanted to leave it as a fraction, I would just simplify. So I divide them both by 2, and I get 4/5. So either way is correct. Okay, let's scroll down and let's look at the word problems. Let's try to finish up this worksheet in this video. So in a word problem, it's all about what you need to know to solve the problem. As a nurse, you're going to need to know every bit of this, or as a health professional, you'll need to know every bit of this to give the dose of medication. But all I'm wanting to do is either calculate the dosage, or calculate the number of pills, or calculate something. So there's a lot of stuff in here I don't need. So a patient has an order for an anti-infective in the amount of 500 milligrams by mouth twice a day for 10 days to treat pneumonia. He received a bottle of 20 pills. How many pills, this is where we get to our question, how many pills has the patient taken if he used 40% of the 20 pills? Okay, I don't need the 500 milligrams. I don't need the twice a day for 10 days. This is all information you need as a nurse. I don't need to know that he received a bottle of 20 pills. All I need to know is they want to know how much, or how many did he use, how many does he have if he used 40% of the 20 pills. So I'm just going to do the 40% times the 20 pills. And that's going to equal my number of pills. So again, I'm going to change my percent to a decimal, move it 2 places to the left. So I get 0.4, since this, well, if I had 0.40 is what I would have when I did that. I don't need this 0, okay, because it's a trailing 0. I don't have any numbers after it. So since I'm not going to use it, I'm just going to erase it. And then I'm going to do times my 20 pills. So I have 20 times 0.4, and yes, I should be able to do this in my head, but right now I can't. I got 1 decimal place. So x is going to equal 8 pills. Okay. So you're just looking, you got to kind of weed out the information you don't need and only use the information you need to solve the calculation. And most of these word problems will have added information in it that you don't need to calculate. Okay. So let's look at the next one, which this patient is on an oral fluid restrictions of 1,200 milliliters for a 24-hour period. For breakfast and lunch, he consumes 60% of the total fluid allowance, and I'm wanting to know how many milliliters has he had? And this is has he had, okay? Not how many he has left, but how many he's had. So how many of the 1,200 milliliters has he had? Because it's the total fluid allowance. My fluid restriction is the 1,200 milliliters. So my 1,200 milliliters is my fluid allowance. So he's consumed 60%. So I'm going to do 60% times the 1,200 milliliters or 1,200 milliliters. And that's what I want to know, because I want to know how many milliliters has he consumed. Change my percent to a decimal. So I'm going to have 0.6, because remember I don't need that 0 because there's nothing after it. And times the 1,200. And again, I should be able to do this one in my head. Tonight I can't. So 6 times 0 is 0, 6 times 0 is 0, 6 times 2 is 12. Carry my 1, 6 times 1 is 6, and 1 is 7. So I got 7,200. I've got one decimal place, so I move my decimal point one place. So I have 720. So X equals 720 milliliters. Now when you're answering these, especially when you get into the calculations, you want to be sure and put the milliliters, the unit of measure. So 1,200 milliliters, or 720 milliliters is what he had left. Okay. Now this next one is we have table salt, which is sodium chloride, is 40% sodium by weight. So that means that whatever the weight of the box or the jar or jug or whatever of salt that you have, 40% of that salt is sodium. If a box of salt weighs 18 ounces, how many ounces of sodium is in the box of salt? So we know it weighs 40%, or it's 40% of the sodium. I know the box weighs 18 ounces. And my question is, how many ounces of sodium is in the box of salt? So it's 40% by weight. So 40% times my weight, which is 18 ounces. And that's going to equal the amount of soda, or the ounces of sodium. So I can look at this as my percent times, because it's sodium by weight. So my percent times my weight of salt will equal the ounces of salt, or the ounces of sodium. So again, change my percent to a decimal. So I'm going to use 0.4. Again, there's nothing after this 0, so I don't have to keep it, times 18. And once again, I should be able to do this in my head. Forgive me. 4 times 8 is 32. Carry my 1. 4 times 1 is 4, and 3 is 7. I have one decimal place, so I have 7.2. So it's going to be 7.2 ounces equals X. So I got 7.2 ounces of sodium. Okay, the next question is a patient received an intravenous medication, or an IV medication. An intravenous is an IV at a rate of 6.75 milligrams per minute. After 42 minutes, how much, this is our question, how much medication has she received? Okay, so she's receiving 6.7 milligrams per minute, and we want to know after 42 minutes. So we're going to do 6.75 milligrams times 42 minutes. Technically, I'm going to have 6.75 milligrams over or per minute, so I'll have over minute. I have this over 1. My minutes will cancel. And then I'm just going to multiply the 6.75 times the 42, and that will give me the amount of medication. So I'm going to do 6.75 over 42. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 7 is 14. 1 is 15. 2 times 12 is 6. 2 times 6 is 12. 1 is 13. Use that, so I'm going to bring down to 0. 4 times 5 is 20. Carry my 2. 4 times 7 is 28. And 2 is 30. Carry my 3. 4 times 6 is 24. And 3 is 27. 0, 5, 3, 8, 2. When I add them all together, I've got 2 decimal places. So I'm going to move my decimal 2 places. So I've gotten 283.5 of milligrams is what it is, because I still have, once I cancel out my minutes, I still have milligrams. So the patient has received 283.5 milligrams. The next question, and this is the last question. Nope, it's not either. Sorry, I flipped. It says a label on a dinner roll wrapper reads 2.7 grams of fiber per 3/4 of an ounce serving. If you eat 1.5 ounces of dinner rolls, how many grams of fiber will you consume? So we're wanting to know how many grams of fiber. And it reads that there's 2 grams of fiber per 3/4 ounce. So I got 2.7 grams per 3/4 ounce, and we're eating 1.5 ounces, so times 1 1/2 ounce. I'm going to put that over 1. Now I can convert my fractions to decimals, which would probably be easier. So 3/4, if you divide it out, is 0.75. So that becomes that. 1 1/2 is 1.5. So now I have 2.7 over 0.75 times 1.5 over 1. So I'm going to do multiply straight across, and I'm going to do 2.7 times 1.5. 5 times 7 is 35. 5 times 2 is 10. And 3 is 13. Put my placeholder down for that one. 1 times 7 is 7. 1 times 2 is 2. Add 5. 7 and 3 is 10. So carry my 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 2 decimal places because I got 1 here and 1 here, so that's a total of 2. Move my decimal 2 places to the left, so I have 4.05. So then I'm going to have 4.05 over 0.75 times 1 is 0.75. And then I'm going to move my decimal 2 places to the right, so I have whole numbers. So, and I'm going to pull this around here because I'm running out of space. So I have 405 over 75. 5 goes into both of these. 5 goes into 405 81 times, because 5 goes into 48 times. And 5 goes into 75 15 times. Okay, so I have 81 over 15. Then I can do this by 3. This will reduce by 3. That by 3. So 81 divided by 3 is 27. 15 divided by 3 is 5. So now I can divide out my 27 over 5. So if I go over here and I take 5 goes into 27, 5 goes into 27 5 times, that gives me 25. 2 left over. Put a decimal and a 0, bring down my 0. 5 goes into 24 times, and I have a 0 remainder. So then I'm going to have 5.4 ounces of fiber. And then my last word problem. Flipped again. I got 2 more. Alright. Now, this one, let's read it. To work off 90 calories, Angie must walk for 27 minutes. How many minutes would she need to walk to work off 200 calories? I can set this one up as a proportion because I've got 90 calories compared to 27 minutes, and I want to know how many minutes to walk off 200 calories. So I can do compare calories to calories, minutes to minutes, or I can do, and I like to do it this way. I've got 90 calories for 27 minutes. So 90 calories, 27 minutes, and that's going to equal how many? Whoops. If minutes is on top, minutes has to be on bottom. If calories is on they have to line up. If I got minutes on bottom, then my minutes has to be on bottom here. And calories is on top, then my 200 calories has to go on top. I have to compare it the same way. Calories to minutes, calories to minutes. Now it's a proportion because they're equal. So I'm going to cross multiply 90 times x, so that gives me 90x. And then 27 times 200. So 90x equals 2 times 7 is 14. So it's 5,400. Divide by 90. So I'm going to go up here. So x equals, I can cancel a 0. 540 divided by 9. 9 times 6 is 54, so that's going to give me 60. Because if I did 540 divided by 9, 9 times 6 is 54, and then I have to bring that 0 down, so it's going to be 0. So 60. So I'm going to have to walk 60 minutes to burn the 200 calories. This should be the last one. I have the total points for a course in a nursing program is 329. A nursing student needs to achieve 80% of the total points to pass the semester. So how many points are needed or required to pass? So I'm wanting to know how many points she's going to have. So we have to have 329 to pass, and she needs to achieve 80% of the total points. My total points is the 329 points. So to see how many is required to pass, we're going to take 80% times 80% of the total, so 80% times 329. Change my percent to a decimal. So x equals 0.8. Again, there's no numbers after that 0, so it can go away. Times 329. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to do 329 times 0.8. 8 times 9 is 72. 8 times 2 is 16. And 7 is 23. 8 times 3 is 24, and 2 is 25. I have it one decimal place, so I gotta move that 1. So the student has to have 253.2 points to pass the class. Okay, and that is it for chapter 2. So, I will see you next time.